Hey there, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm joining into the call at this moment. It is 5 o'clock on Saturday, and so we're doing another episode here of the famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, um, Speed Dial with Ready Set Drone. So thanks everyone for being here. I've got the wonderful pleasure today of bringing in a good friend of mine, a guy that I really find extremely entertaining, and quite honestly, I think he has the potential, the looks, the charisma, and the the kind of creativity to be a very big YouTuber. His name is Chris Rollins, and he's done a lot of really cool stuff on his channel recently. He seems to be focusing on some sciencey kind of stuff. So if you're a fan of that sort of thing, he's definitely someone who can help with that. Real quick, just in the chat, can you guys let me know if I sound okay? I've got my computer muted, but I've got my phone in my ears. Hey, what's up, Kai? Good to see you. Coast to Coast Drones, thanks for being here. Zeb Meat, good to see you. Oh, by the way, Zeb Meat, I will I'll reach out to you separately, but good. Thank you, Kai. And by the way, Kai is the one of the newest members of the Ready Set Drone flight crew. The flight crew is is a group of folks that support the channel, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, Kai. That's why he's got those cool wings next to his name in the chat. Hey, Oz by Drone, what's up, Greg? Good to see you. And it sounds like Chris has his makeup finished, so I'm going to go ahead and give Chris a call and see if I can get a hold of him. So let's see if this will work once again. And if, for everyone who hasn't been on one of these before, this is a kind of like a podcast, like a combination podcast and live stream. And it's something that I've been trying to do every Saturday. This will be my fourth one in a row. I've had B from Droner, Ken Herron, and then did a call-in show last week. Call-in show was great. I really enjoyed it. So thank you to everyone that called in last time. 3Bade or 3B Aid, I'm not sure what it is, but thanks for being here. Flying Nelia, thanks for being here. Flying Nella, I'm going to call Chris right now. Let's see if we can get a hold of him.
Oh, hello?
Mr. Rollins.
Hey.
How's it going?
Hey, pretty good. Just trying to keep a 9-month-old entertained right now.
All right. Well, there's lots of ways to do that. Maybe saw blades or rockets, exploding rockets. There's lots of cool things.
Bleach, fire. There's an endless possibility.
Like the 4 food groups, right, for babies.
Right.
So a 9-month-old daughter, dude. I mean, that is. I think last time I talked to you, I probably haven't talked to you since you had the child. Is it pretty awesome?
It is so awesome. I mean, seriously, like, every day she's learning new stuff, and you can probably hear in the background. She learned to crawl about a week or two ago. And that was life changing, just because now we've got to put everything about 2 feet off the ground.
Right.
So, yeah, it's so awesome. She's, she recognizes us, like different than other people. Like she distinguishes, like, hey, this is mom and dad. So, it's just every little bit of it. It's just special,
Well, that's awesome. And I'll say, as the father of 2 who are in high school now, you got to really cherish that time, because it goes by. I know this sounds cliche, but it goes by so fast, man. Next thing you know, she'll be driving away. Yeah, 9 months, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my wife and I, it's at the end of every day, we're exhausted, we're ready for her to go to sleep, and then we sit on the couch and look at pictures of her. Like,
right.
It's like, what are we doing? But then we're like, oh my gosh, look, a month ago she had so much less hair, or she wasn't eating pickles or carrots,
and a picture of you, and a month ago you had so much more hair, right?
Right, and fewer wrinkles.
No, dude, you're looking good. I did my homework. My homework today was to binge watch a bunch of Chris Rollins videos, which was a blast.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude, you're looking pretty cut. Is that from carrying the baby?
Yes, that and not being able to go out and buy junk food.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, well,
You
so
know,
I see that I see from the topics of your videos that having a child, being a father, has not made you any more cautious about life.
calculated risks is how I tell my wife about it.
I
This
do
was a
see a
calculated risk.
mask, some gloves. So tell me about that saw blade flinger. For everyone, by the way, real quick, for everyone who doesn't know who this is Chris Rollins. He's a fellow Texan, just a bit east of me here in Texas, which Texas is a big state, so that can be a ways off. He spoke at Spin Up in our inaugural year, the first year. He's been to Austin a few times, and we've hung out. And he's just I honestly believe one of the most underrated YouTubers out there in terms of his. No, I'm serious, man. Your videos are always very entertaining. I don't skip very much in your videos, and most of the time I skip a lot. So,
Well,
but
thanks.
if you haven't gone and watched, there are two videos that we're talking about, or one right now is he made a thing that flings saw blades. So rotary saw or spinning saw or what are those things
Yeah,
called?
skill saw.
Skill saw with it, and it looks like a batting machine or a pitching machine, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and it was he did real life Fruit Ninja. So anyway, my point is, if you haven't subscribed to Chris Rollins, I highly recommend you do and watch that video. But I think I know what the problem was with that thing, why it wasn't cutting through cleanly. Do you suspect as well?
Yeah. I mean, operator error, I think, is sort of the always my going problem.
No. Well, so in the slow-mo footage, which by the way was amazing, and I want to talk to you about your slow-mo camera because I really
Okay.
want to get one. I've been shooting a lot with my phone, but there's only so much you can do with your phone. But in the
Right.
slow-mo footage, you could see that the blade wasn't turning. It was just kind of flying through the air straight in most cases.
Yeah. I was gonna say not every time. It's and all that came down to how I fed it into the machine. So typically, I was trying to feed it off of one side, so like you're saying, it would give it some spin and help it stabilize and cut. And the ones that did really good, I got it in there correctly. But then, like, as adrenaline's going and batteries are dying, I'm like, go, and yeah, you can definitely tell some of them shoot out just with zero spin whatsoever, and that definitely messed them up quite a bit.
And the blade actually seems to like flex in the air just a little bit. So guys, just for everyone who
Yeah,
doesn't
that
know
was
too,
shocking, actually.
he was shooting this at fruit. So he had a pineapple and an apple and a can of fruit, and so it's kind of real life Fruit Ninja. But yeah, man, the thing you would think, because you really can't bend one of those with your hand very easily, right?
I can't. You might be able to.
well, you see it kind of doing this flex in the air. I mean, that slow mo just makes everything. And I think it was on the last one where it hit the watermelon or the can or something. The saw blade just seems to hover there in the air for a long time. It was just kind of like hanging out in one spot. I was like, how is it doing that?
Yeah, it's it's crazy. I've really fallen in love with shooting high speed. Like real, like not cell phone high speed, but true. 3,000, 5,000 frames per second, and it's just fascinating the stuff that happens that you don't even realize. I mean, you're looking at fractions of a second drawn out into minutes, and so much happens that the human eye, can't perceive.
What camera are you? I think it's a Sony, but what is it you're using?
It's called a Chronos.
Oh, Chronos.
Uh,
That's right.
yeah, and their cameras are just numbered. They don't give them names or anything, but it's a Canadian company, and yeah, they make it's sort of an all-in-one. You've been around when like Ken Heron and I were using like higher speed, real big, expensive rigs that you have to have a computer attached to it and all this other all this other
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
And the one that I'm using is like all-in-one. It's just a self-contained high-speed camera.
And
They're kind of the only one out like that.
what's the max frame rate?
44,000 frames per second.
Well, I mean, is anything even worth watching at 44? I mean, you know what I mean? It must be like nothing, 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 nothing. Finally, something
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. No, it gets pretty boring pretty quick. We did, my buddy and I did it, and he punched something, and it was the most boring punch you've ever seen. I mean, it was, the camera records 4 seconds at a time and just in little chunks. And, it took, I think, 4 seconds and 40,000 frames. I can't remember the math on that, but it was like a 27-minute clip or something of a single punch.
Wow.
It gets ridiculous up at that speed.
So at that point, you probably have to speed it up a little bit to make it watchable, right?
Yeah, I mean, at that speed, you have to kind of just go to the highlights.
Right. So what did he punch?
A lot of boring stuff.
What was he punching?
Dummy, just a dummy. There was.
So he was punching you.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. So no, just to see the impact, or what kind of thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was doing a little video on this camera, and he was like, "Let's crank it all the way up," and we realized that, well, what's the point? A punch is nowhere near fast enough. So I did punch him in the face at like 3,000 frames, and it's pretty cool because, I mean, you can see the fat in the face sort of, moves as a wave across, from the left side to the right side. You can see the pain kind of well up in his eyes. It's good.
So it's funny you mentioned that. Probably 4 or 5 years ago, one of our clients was a security, like a network security company, software security, and we did a video for them where we did slow motion punches on people, like high frame rate punches, and the caption would be like, just when you thought all of your IT was secure, and then the fist would hit, and it was. You could see I was one of the subjects, and I've got kind of a chubby face, so I mean, you totally could see the ripples in my face. It was funny.
Yeah, we were blowing up cigarette lighters or lighters. Just the cheapo ones, that you get at a gas station for like $1.
Little plastic ones.
Yeah. And like we set a candle next to it, and then we shot it with a slingshot, and you see a little fireball, but then when you shoot it at 5,000 frames per second, all of a sudden it becomes like this epic, movie shot where, you just see the individual particles igniting and expanding, and I mean, everything looks cooler in slow motion.
Well, let's talk about your sodium rocket, because the slow-mo on that was astounding. I mean, like some of those shots where you just see the flame bursting look like a little Hiroshima, like a little nuclear blast.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was one of those deals where I spent probably weeks getting all the pieces together and kind of planning what I wanted to do. And then, I brought in my friend to help me film, and then you just kind of pray that all that preparation, this whole thing actually works, and it worked out. And I was giddy for about a week.
Well, the results, I mean, the video itself was, I mean, the way those things take off. So again, if you weren't here 5 minutes ago when I said this, go over to Chris Rollins on YouTube and subscribe. I think there's, Chris Rollins is not an uncommon name. So you're not looking for a basketball player. You're not looking for, a defendant in a 1962 murder case. You're not looking for, the vice presidential candidate. You're looking for Chris Rollins, a YouTuber, and go subscribe because his stuff is awesome. So tell me about your direction in the channel. I mean, it does seem like you're kind of going in this sort of experimentation, like kind of science, chemistry kind of thing. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I am. I'm still incorporating sort of, the filmmaking type stuff, a little bit less explanation, and obviously drones, because that's definitely where my channel started from. But I'm just sort of implementing them for, unique shots and, for the creative purpose. I'm not doing a whole lot of like drone reviews or anything like that. right now. But the awesome thing is like when I started doing a couple of these more of these experimental type things, I realized really quick, like, it's so open to just kind of anything that I happen to think of at 3:00 in the morning that I can't sleep. I'm like, whoa, you know what? If I put some high pressure propane in my doorbell, not to give away too much on a future video or anything, but that is coming.
Dude, how are you still married? That's what I have not met your wife, but she must be like in line for sainthood right now.
Honestly, I don't think she watches my channel. She's a nurse. She's pretty busy. With that and the baby. So usually she'll find out about stuff that I've done
by the smell.
When somebody at her, or somebody at work goes, "Oh my gosh, does your husband have any hair left?" She's like, "What did he do?"
Well,
it's just easier not to explain.
I remember too when you had the gas-powered blower in your house, blowing fumes all over the place.
She never found out about that one.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good. So all she has to do if she's mad at you is go to your channel, watch one of your videos, and immediately she has stuff on you. So that's a pretty good position to be in as a wife.
Leverage.
Well,
so remember when I let you gas up the whole house? Yeah.
Right. Well, you do have a kid now, so you can't do that anymore. So
right, exactly.
You did have a drone shot in the sodium rocket video. What drone was that? Because it was a really cool shot of the rocket going up from high up above. Like, you could see it on the ground, that you could see it take off. What were you shooting that with?
The Mavic 2 Pro. That is, I mean, I that's my go-to for just about everything, really. I love that thing.
Yeah. No, both the Pro and the Zoom. I'm really going to be surprised. I mean, I think the only thing that DJI could do at this point, obviously there's always the better camera, there's more flight time, etc.
Right.
But I think if they are able to put some of that vision sensing that the Skydio has on something like that, oh my God. I mean, that thing would basically take over the world.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like we're kind of getting to a point where the advances are going to be just small increments instead of, I remember I had the Phantom 1, then it flew away. I had the Phantom 2, and it lasted for a pretty good while. And then I missed the 3, the 4, and I went all the way to the Mavic Pro. And I was blown away. I mean, just blown away at how the technology had changed.
Wait, you went from a Phantom 2 to a Mavic Pro?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of stingy. Like I don't have to have like the latest and greatest. I'll ride it out as long as I can. And so when I made that jump, I mean, like I let go of the controls and the thing just hovered there. It detected the ground. I was shocked.
Yeah.
On the Phantom 1 in particular, it had zero assist other than some really vague GPS function that didn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah.
And then you had to put a GoPro on it and then hit record before you took off. So you end up with these big 15, 20-minute clips that you couldn't adjust the exposure, you couldn't adjust the frame rate. It was just
no gimbal. It was just attached on the Phantom 1.
Yeah, well, I went and bought a cheap Chinese gimbal off eBay.
Oh, nice.
And it was less than ideal because like it would just spin. Like if you hold the tilt down, it would tilt down, then go all the way around and back up and then around. Like it was unbelievable to switch over to like the Mavic and have all of the things I had wanted, with being able to full control of the camera, full control of exposure and the gimbal operates how you'd want a gimbal to operate. You're not worried about jello effect. You're not getting props in the shots anymore. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, big jump. And then of course now you said you have a Phantom 2 Pro, which is about as good as you can get without, spending thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, for sure. I went from the Mavic Pro, which I crashed, and so I bought a Phantom 4 Pro, and my whole thing was I love the way that the Mavic Pro flew. I really never really cared for the camera. It just never, even at 4K, it wasn't super sharp. It didn't really have a good dynamic range.
Right.
And then I got the Phantom 4 Pro, and that had that 1-inch sensor, and I loved the image, and I hated the way it flew. So when the Mavic 2 Pro came out, it was a combination of like both the things that I wanted. It was an amazing flying drone with this great camera on it, and I mean, when the first time I took it out, you know, and I had like, what is it, like a 27-minute flight time? I mean, instantly I was like, well, this is it. I mean, I could stay here for a while.
Yeah, you can put that thing up in the air and then do what you need to do to get the shot set up and launch your rockets or whatever. And then, so you had mentioned to me a while back this idea. Do you mind sharing it with everybody that you know you and I had talked about with taking a drone across a state or something like that? I always thought it was a good idea.
Man. I'm going back in the vault here.
Yeah. Is it something you would still consider doing?
Yeah, for sure. So just to let everybody know, my thought was let me jump back even further. My original thought was fly a drone across the country. Kelly convinced me, why don't you try flying across the state first and see, you know, how that works out. And that was good advice, Kelly. I'll tell you that was.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
That was very good. So what I mean, I wasn't wanting to build a drone to make it all the way across the state, but essentially I'm fine with, like, you know, taking off, flying as far as that battery will go, landing, swap them out, and, you know, just basically chasing it down the highway or road, you know, all the way across the state. And I'd gotten so far as planning a route, you know, looking at airspace, you know, finding a route that was very much.
Which state were you looking at? Texas or I remember you said
Montana.
Montana. Okay, less populated, more isolated roads, etc.
Very open airspace, no airports, very very small cities, and it's almost a straight shot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at a map right now, but whatever that, there's a highway that goes basically east to west in a virtual straight shot. And so that was my goal. I had a buddy who was getting this like camper van rental company that was going to loan us a van, and they were, you know, we're going to kind of document the whole thing.
Like a sponsorship.
And then, yeah, I mean, even, you know, just having a nice van that you can sit upright and you have a bunch of gear in there and fit a couple of people would be really helpful versus just doing it in my car.
Sure.
But then, you know, then my wife got pregnant, and I was like, I'm going to be short on money for a while.
Well, I still think it's a cool idea, and I could definitely see it being, you know, I also wonder if there is a Guinness Book of Records for, you know, well, of course, longest drone flight would probably be something you would do with a fixed wing, but something where, you know, we're basically continuously swapping out batteries and going a distance could be a Guinness Book of Records, because that's always a fun thing to try and do, right? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, did you ever have that actual book, like the physical Guinness Book of Records? Did anybody in the chat have that book? I remember that there were always two pictures. Well, there were three pictures I always remember. There was the tallest man standing next to an average person. There were those two really, really rotund guys riding on motorcycles, on mini bikes. Do you remember them? They were like the world's fattest guys. And then there was the woman with the fingernails, and her fingernails were like curling around. And I would look at that and
like
just
dread.
I would get the heebie-jeebies every time. I'm curious if anybody in the chat remembers the Book of World Records, because I remember wanting to be in that so bad, but I never knew what for.
Yeah, I've got one right here, literally on my coffee table, 2001.
Really?
Yeah.
So open it up. Let's have a random world record. What's a good random world record?
Ooh, okay. Well, let's see. We're talking about drones. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything airplane related. Longest rail network, meh. Let's see, busiest intercontinental route.
I want to say the last one I have is from like the early '90s too. So I'm sure a lot of that has overgrown now. It's gone past.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this is back before social media was even a thing. Man, I'm trying to find longest flight or highest.
Wait, so
in
Tony,
2001 they switched over to like the highlights, and it's not the complete.
right, because it used to be like only some had pictures, and then the rest were. But Tony with Tropic Drones says, "I worked on the largest turntable Piper aircraft." Oh, so he must have been on the turntable, rotating the aircraft to work on it. Wow, that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Good to see you, Tony. Good to see you, Mel. I just saw Mel jump in here. So any that you're finding?
Let's see.
Don't worry about relevance.
Here we go. Smallest camcorder, the Sony CCD CR1, 5 inches by 2.5 inches. I feel like that's pretty big.
That is still, it is pretty big for today.
Here you go. Biggest TV in the world, 85 inches.
Wait, what year was this?
That doesn't seem right. 2001.
Well, I don't know, man. I remember back in 2001, just flat screens were a big deal, I think.
Well, wow. They didn't exist in my life, that's for sure.
Well, it's definitely one of those books that I feel like had to change, and probably with social media, it's a little harder for them to have that wow factor. But but hey, if we can set a world record by flying the drone all the way across the country, I'm in. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I would love to do it with just a group of guys. It's definitely the kind of thing you can't do by yourself, but I'd love to do it with just a bunch of drone enthusiasts. Whenever we were at Spin Up that first year, and you asked me that same question when I was on stage, Billy Kyle came up to me after, and he goes, "What drone are you going to use?" And I said, "I'm not really sure." I said, "The Mavic only does 40 miles an hour. That would take an eternity." He goes, "Well, the Inspire 2 does 65. I was like, "I've heard that, and I don't own one." He goes, "Yeah, well, I own one, and I would let you use it." And I said, "I want you to think about that really hard before we talk again."
Billy Kyle,
let's talk about it.
He's a good guy for sure. And Kai says he's in. I think we have a few people from the chat that might be willing to participate. Ultimately, the thing with that though would be logistics, right? The actual doing of it would be kind of tedious, I think. But pulling off the actual logistics would be. Oh, hey, we had somebody just join. I think it's Geek Spana. Although yes, it is Geek Spana. Thank you for joining the channel. I appreciate that. So, Chris, in terms of stuff on your channel, what are you planning to do for the next little while?
Well, I'm in the middle of filming a video. I filmed it the other day, filmed part of it, and then the machine broke. So I spent yesterday driving around all over town looking for parts. So I think I've pretty much got that ready to go. I'm revisiting a video I did a couple months ago where I was trying to find what is the top speed that a bike wheel can spin.
Oh yeah, because that wheel on your pitching machine was kind of coming off. It looked like.
Very much so. And so this was about 5 or 6 months ago, and I built this rig, and it did okay. I spun a wheel up to about 500 miles an hour, and it didn't fail. And the problem I was having was like the chain and the bearings were all like burning up and stuff like that. So
you were spinning it on the bike, like it was still connected.
It wasn't on a bike,
but on the drivetrain of a bike, like you said, gears and chain and derailleur and all that.
Right, exactly. And that was my big fail point, because the bearings melted, the chain was trying to fling off, and so it was the big big cluster. But so I'm revisiting that. I built a rig that kind of eliminates all of those fail points, and I filmed it. I filmed the first. Well, I was trying to film the whole thing a couple days ago, and the rig broke. So I went to the store, bought some parts, and I think it's ready to go. I was going to try to film it tomorrow, but my parents are coming in town for a week, so that video might be pushed back for another week or so. But
so are you still driving competitively? Didn't you do some racing back in the day?
yeah, back in the day, as in just before the pandemic broke out.
Okay, and so
yeah,
what kind of car does your team have? I mean, are you part of a team, or tell everybody a little bit about that?
So we do endurance racing, which is 24-hour races. Obviously everybody's heard of like the 24 hours of Le Mans, and it's that spirit, just obviously not on that level. We've got a 2001 BMW 330 Ci, which obviously the inside is just gutted, roll bars and everything like that. And so the way we do it is like we have it's three of us, it's me and two other guys. And so we share the driving for 24 hours. Like, I'll hop in for 3 hours, hop out, the guy gets in, he goes for 3 hours, and the other guy goes, and then it's my turn again. You do that.
So eight rounds, basically. I mean, because it's 24 hours, 8 times 3.
Yeah. Wait, hang on.
Not 8 rounds each, but a total of eight rounds at 3 hours each.
Correct.
Okay.
And as long as nothing goes wrong, because inevitably, you'll get into your second stint and you get tired and you'll clip someone, or someone will clip you, or something breaks. And
is it typically what's the length of the course you're typically driving on that situation?
The last one we did was where you live in Austin at Circuit of the Americas.
Really? How long ago?
Mm-hmm. Was that January?
Oh, nice. Nice.
Everything's kind of, with all this getting locked in my own house, all my timeline is messed up right now.
I actually had an opportunity, and I've got a little bit of footage in a couple of my videos about it, to fly at Circuit of the Americas. I flew my Phantom 4 out there for BMW. So they brought their dealers in, and they brought a bunch of cars in from from all over, and they brought the dealers in to do hot laps with the BMWs, and I got to film the whole thing. Yeah, it was
okay.
So the most fun event.
This is funny. This is really funny that you're telling me this. So the local here in Tyler is BMW of Tyler, Texas is where I live. So BMW of Tyler is one of my clients.
Okay.
And I remember I have seen your footage from that event, because I went up there one day. We were filming a little test drive of a car here in town, and they were like, "Check this out. We got to go drive these cars in Austin." And I was like, "Wow, you got a drone up there and everything." And
yeah,
I didn't know that was yours.
That was my drone. Yep. It was. So there's a company. There's like a automotive marketing company that hired us, and so we had time lapse going. We had a bunch of GoPros in the cars. We had the drone, of course. They had their own drone too. It was kind of weird. I don't know why they hired me. I guess I don't think.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. I don't think their drone pilot was actually Part 107, so that might have been part of it. But it was so much fun. It was like, okay, don't fly directly over the cars, but otherwise go crazy, And so I got to circle that big tower out there a few times.
Yeah.
I got to obviously just kind of drive all around the track and kind of wait in these big turns and wait for the cars to come by and chase them with the drone. And these things weren't going as fast as a Formula One car by any means, but they were going pretty fast, much faster than the drone could keep up. So I would have to do like a combination of chase and yaw, chase and yaw.
Right.
A lot of that stuff.
You start moving way before they get to you.
Yep. And then by the time they're passing you, you've kind of rotated 90 degrees or 180 degrees, so you can kind of follow them as they go by. It was such a blast. I kept saying to myself, I'm getting paid to do this. I can't believe I'm getting paid to fly a drone, and chase race cars. How fun is this? But it was a blast. So
That's so funny that you shot that footage.
yeah, that was, I think I shot that in late 2017 was when I did that. So
that sounds about right.
Okay, cool. So your team, your racing team, that's on hold right now. How has life in Tyler been with COVID and stuff?
It's been good. I mean, my city is about 100,000 people, so I mean it's already kind of a quiet town. But also being a small town, people get a little antsy really quick where they're going, why are we doing this again? We're not Dallas,
Right.
we're not New York. Why are we, why can't I go get a burger? So there is kind of a little bit of that vibe, but all in all, it's been really good. We've started, well, I guess you're in Texas too, we're back open a little bit.
Yeah.
To a smaller capacity.
Yeah.
So, my friends are starting to get their businesses back open. I've got one of my friends owns a brewery here, and he's back open. The gyms are opening slowly, so it's starting to feel like it's kind of back to normal. It's but it's still the whole there's like a 50-50 split of people who are not doing anything and not going out at all, and then the people that really pretend like this whole thing's not even happening. It's kind of bizarre.
Well, yeah, I mean, being in Texas, and actually same thing, friends that are in the restaurant business that want to get back open. I understand that. I kind of think that this weekend, being Memorial Weekend, is going to be a big kind of tipping point. And by that I mean, in 2 weeks, they say that the sort of incubation period is 2 weeks. So in about 2 weeks, I expect that we'll either see not a whole lot of change or a lot of change, and hopefully everyone will react appropriately to that. If it's not a whole lot of change, then okay, great. Let's proceed. But if it is a lot of change, then maybe we need to pull back. But life for me, and I think probably for you as well, as far as going outside, flying my drone, none of that has slowed down. That's all stuff I've been able to. As a matter of fact, I've had more time, so it's been that's actually been good. Where is that piece of land where you filmed some of that stuff, especially the rockets and the saw blades?
The rocket was filmed at my in-laws' house. They live in a tiny little town of like 40 people south of Tyler, and then the saw blade was filmed on the property of another YouTuber buddy of mine. His channel is called For the Good of the Land.
Oh, cool.
Justin Mayrow, and he's got 300,000 subscribers, and he does some really cool, he does a lot of tool restoration.
Oh, wow.
And he really gets into like the history of it. And he lets me film out there with him, and he has actually helped me quite a bit. He contacted me when he found out I lived in Tyler, and he goes, "Hey, you're doing some cool stuff. I noticed you build a lot of things out of wood. That's not good." He was like, let me let you use my welder and my angle grinder and my drill press. So it's kind of been a godsend. That's probably saved my life, because
that's awesome.
I don't have access to those tools. I can't drop money on, he's got $80,000 worth of machinery at his shop.
Well, I saw the thing you had built too. That out of when you built that thing out of the baseball, the pitching machine, that was super cool.
Yeah, that was a big step up for me on the on the quality side. Because did you ever see the video of the spinning axe machine?
No.
Okay, well, it's made out of wood. Not probably the best thing I could have used, but it's what I had access to. And that was before I met Justin from this other channel, and that was like his big cue to reach out to me and like, listen, maybe don't use wood.
Is that a sustainability thing?
No, it's just a safety thing.
Ah. Okay.
just saying, hey, if you're going to use an axe attached to an engine that's spinning really fast, maybe don't build it out of wood. And that's, obviously I was like, wow, you're so smart.
So what is his channel about? You said it's about building like restoration?
Tool restoration, tool and machinery restoration.
Wow.
He gets really into the history of the tools and how they were used, and he teaches people how to do the same. And he's just really good at his craft. He knows that world inside and out. Because I'll call him and I was like, hey, I want to build this. He's like, It's like, well, you want to use this because the tensile strength of this is that and the other, and what we'll need to do is we'll need to tap this into this at a such and such angle. I'm like, this is great.
I will have to check that out. And 300,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't looked at his numbers in a while, but yeah, it's up there.
Some of the videos that seem to do the best, that I'm always amazed by, are people just doing like lathing work on a log, or people doing, taking old lumber and building something cool out of it. People love that sort of thing.
They do. I think there's this fascination in people of like the lost crafts that, I think in our minds, we think everybody used to know how to do this, and nobody knows how to do it now,
Well, it's definitely something that I think when you have an audience and you can teach it, it makes it, makes it worth the time, because you spend hours and hours building something that you could potentially buy fairly cheaply. Right. And so just to build it by itself, it's like, is that really worth the time? But to build it and then, show it to thousands of people, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think particularly, when everybody's stuck at home, people are looking for stuff like that to, just to, like even my wife, she's looking on YouTube to find a new hobby, something she can do at home, and you got guys like Justin who are teaching people like, hey, look, he did a video that was really cool. He had gone to a garage sale and found just a 5-gallon bucket full of rusted tools. And,
wow.
he just like, kind of like a barn find video. And he brought it home and he showed everything. He's like, I got this whole bucket for $8, and it's got, this cool Bowie knife, and it's got the saw, and it's got all these things. And he just went through each one step by step. Sorry, my daughter is found a pickle and
and he restored. Did he restore them?
Yeah, he did. And I mean, and then he adds his own. He doesn't just restore them. Not all. He doesn't just like restore them just how they were. Sometimes he'll just add a little flair. Add a little acid edge to kind of add a little bit of, a little spunk to it.
Wow.
And yeah, it's really neat, really cool.
He'll
do a lot of stuff he'll restore for museums, actually.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess if you know how to remove the rust and sharpen things back up, and I mean that is super cool. And it's funny because there's this balance you have to have between hanging on to stuff. My wife and I actually spent some time working on our garage this morning, trying to clean it out a little bit. And there's so many things that you want to clear out because they're just taking up a lot of space. But then you're like, oh, this is such good, material, like lumber, for example.
Right.
I've got all this lumber in my garage, and what am I going to do with it? I mean, when I need it, but when I don't, it's just sitting there. And so and actually, Chris, I actually took down a cedar tree on the side of my house not too long ago.
Wow.
And it was such a straight, the main trunk of the tree was so straight and it's probably, I don't know, 15, 20 feet long, just big straight piece of cedar that I actually kept it. Like I got rid of all the branches and everything, but just kept this trunk of this cedar tree. So I have this trunk of a cedar tree in my backyard that I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Make a bench? What should I do? So if you have any ideas,
have you seen those videos of the guys that'll like take raw wood and they'll make they'll put resin on it, and they'll add some color. Oh man, you should really look. I'm not sure what to search, like resin wood table, something like that. But they'll take the live edge and fill it with different types of different colors of resin, and it makes some really beautiful furniture.
That's cool. No, I have thought about a bench for the porch, right? Something, because I mean,
Yeah.
it is, if I could just kind of cut off like a section and make it flat on the top, and plus cedar is bug resistant, so it would.
Yes.
But that's one of those things. Like, I was like, what do I do with this? Because it's such a pretty piece of wood. It smells good. It looks great. But in today's modern world, it is a shame that we're so disposable, including drones, right? There's so many things that
Yeah.
we just get rid of. So I also sort of, when I crash a drone or an airplane, I have a couple of RC airplanes that I've crashed. I try to salvage the parts from them. So I have this big
Right.
box of like propellers and motors and push rods and servos and all this stuff. And I was just like, am I ever going to do anything with this? But it's, I just can't get rid of it.
That's funny. Right before I got into drones, the guy I was working for, he goes, "Hey, I inherited this storage unit from this guy that I didn't really know very well, but he was really into RC airplanes. He goes, if you can get all that junk out of there," he's like, "just sell it. I mean, keep whatever you want to keep or whatever." And like, I wish I'd had the mind to think to keep so much of that stuff. I opened up the storage unit and there's about 50 complete RC planes in there.
And they were gas powered, like glow plugs.
Yeah, the old school. Was it nitro that they used to? I think, I don't know. Maybe
I did have a gas powered RC plane, and it was it had a little piston engine, just one piston that went up and down.
Right.
And you connect it to a fuel tank, and you had a primer, and you had a glow plug. I mean, it was a big deal to get that thing in the air.
Right.
Right.
And so these were all the radios on all these were the old school crystal.
Oh, with the crystals.
Where you had yeah. And so I don't even know if it would have been worth really using them anymore, because now everything just binds and you don't have to really worry about that kind of stuff anymore.
Wow.
But man, yeah, I keep thinking about it now. Like, oh my goodness, like he had like landing gear with suspension that retracts like up into the kit, just lying around,
He probably spent
all this stuff.
He probably spent years of his life building all that stuff,
Oh, I mean, he was like he had retired young. He was a multimillionaire, never married, had lots of time, just loved flying, never really cared to fly, airplanes, like fly real airplanes, but he loved model airplanes, and he just left behind this insane collection. And I really regret not taking the opportunity to hang on to a couple of those pieces.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you could have filled him with some sort of explosive and slungshot him into the air and made some sort of video.
Missed opportunity.
Well, that's it's just a balance between disposability, efficiency, and then trying to reuse things. But I know for me too, even with drones, right? I'm really trying to do a good job of recycling my drones that I'm not using anymore to someone who might want them, so that's why I give a lot of them away, or to use them for parts for another drone. There's a lot of times I find that especially with FPV drones, a lot of the propellers are cross functional. How's your FPV these days, by the way? Have you been flying at all?
Oof, I haven't actually gotten that thing out in probably 7 or 8 months. So I would say I'm probably pretty rusty. It's just so, I can take the Mavic and just unfold it and go.
Yeah.
And, there's so many pieces to get a FPV up and going. And I feel like every time I fly, I'm like, I need to tune it or something. And there's just a lot that goes into it.
But you're a pretty good FPV pilot. I remember, seeing you fly for the first time and being like, wow, Chris knows what he's doing here. I mean, it's such a rush, right?
Oh, it really is. It's like controlling your own roller coaster. I mean, it's really fun. It's one of those things. Ed Ricker and I would, we haven't in a while, but we used to, a couple nights a week, we would get on one of the simulators, and you can fly together and we would do that. And I'm so much braver in a simulator.
Which
I'll get
which
so
one were you
close.
using? Which sim were you using?
At
it
the time,
Liftoff?
we were using Liftoff. Yes.
Okay, cool.
But we haven't done that in a while. And then then he and I met up, and we were flying. Where were we? Doesn't matter. But yeah, Ed has gotten insanely good. I don't know if you watched his progression. I mean, he's so smooth.
Yeah,
and he's so creative in his flying too.
Well, I just back in February got to fly with him. I got to fly.
That's right. You guys went up to
Colorado and
Sean's place, right?
Flew tiny whoops together. Yeah, it was a blast. And yeah, I mean, I was trying to do this thing where I flew through Sean's shop, and I tried 3 or 4 times and ended up bumping into the wall or knocking over some of his stuff. And then Ed just nailed it the first try. No, he's a very good pilot. And I will say too, Chris, one of the things about the sim is you can take a lot of chances, and if you crash, all you do is flip a switch, and then you can go back to it. I've been flying the DRL sim recently, and my son did. I don't know if you saw this, but my son did a 10-day challenge where he had never really tried it before, and for 10 days he practiced for an hour. He couldn't fly in acro, in unstabilized mode at all at first, and by the end, he's doing, dives down the side of buildings and just all this cool stuff. I mean, just an hour a day for 10 days did the trick.
Wow, that is awesome. I haven't heard of the challenge. Is that a video that you put up?
Yeah. If you just go on my channel, you'll see my son doing that for 10 days in a row, and basically just getting he couldn't even really control it without stabilization at first, and by the end he was beating all my times. And so and I think I've told people this, but I'm pretty excited. DRL is actually sponsoring Spin Up this year, so I'm hoping to get some access to DRL pilots as well as some cool swag, maybe passes to some of their events. I don't know, it's going to kind of. They don't know how it's going to shake out yet this year as far as their live events go. But also, I'll plug real quick. DRL is doing kind of a cool thing on Saturdays. They're doing actually simulator races between, you mentioned about racing with Ed on the sim or just flying together. They're doing it with their professional pilots each Saturday for the next 6 weeks. So it's on NBC SI or SN Sports Network and Twitter. So if you go to the Drone Racing League on Twitter, you can watch. I watched it last week. I didn't watch it today, but it was pretty fun. It was like these guys you talk about ripping up the sim. They're doing a good job.
Right. That the thing that I had bought a FPV quad, crashed it a whole bunch, and thank goodness they're really tough. Then I figured out, hey, I should go get a simulator, and I did the simulator for probably over a month, and I went back out to fly for real, and I realized really quickly one thing that a simulator doesn't do or doesn't teach you to be aware of is battery life, because you can fly.
Right.
You can fly indefinitely.
I think you can set that. I think that's a setting you can do, but generally, why would you? It's like why do I want to have to change batteries?
Yeah, I mean, because I was like 3 minutes, and my drone just literally fell out of the sky, and I realized very quickly that was a handicap I had built into myself.
No, it's they're a lot of fun, and I know every time I fly FPV, especially if I'm flying without stabilization on, I feel like I become a better pilot overall. That pushes me beyond.
100%.
Well, Chris, man, I am so glad to catch up with you. It's been way too long.
It has been too long.
I know you have obviously having a new child is a big deal, but I want to thank you for joining today. I also, do you know about Spin Up yet? You may not have heard. I haven't really announced it.
No,
I
haven't heard any details yet.
So details are it's going to be virtual, and it's going to be on September 12th. And we're going to do a virtual Spin Up, and then we're going to do an actual meetup in Colorado in late September, early October. I think we're still trying to there's a pavilion that on a lake that we want to rent. And I think Sean's looked into it. The date we wanted was booked, like somebody's getting married. So basically, the opportunity would be participate online. And then if you really want to meet up with everybody, come to Colorado in early October to do so. But yeah,
do you think you'll do live through YouTube or Zoom or?
No, it's going to be YouTube. I've been I know you have worked in video production for a while, as have I. My company, the thing that's really kept us afloat right now is doing live streams of company meetings. People kind of confuse what Zoom and live streaming is, because they're similar, but they're not the same thing. It's like a sports car and a family car, What we're doing is really high production value, good cameras, picture in picture where it's appropriate, playing back videos, adding graphics, all that kind of stuff to our live streams. And that's what I intend Spin Up to be. Is it's going to look like you're watching a TV show, but I'm excited because obviously we'll have the chat, we'll have the participation, and I'm also hoping to have some folks in the studio with me in Austin. So it'll be some live people, some people coming in remotely, some people sending in pre-recorded things. But right now I've got DJI committed to a pretty big sponsorship as far as giveaways go. They're going to give away all of their drones, like every drone they make. They're actually going to give away one.
Are you serious?
Yeah. That's exciting. And then I've got DRL, and we haven't talked about but they're very committed. They're like, we want to participate because we want more people from your community to join FPV, to do FPV.
Right.
And then I've got 2 or 3 other companies that I can't mention yet because I haven't secured it, but they're companies you'll have heard of. So I'm excited.
Man, the thing is, it's really cool to see how far it's coming and fast for Spin Up. Well, being a part of that first year, it was fantastic. But it was still, it was just a couple of us. It felt like,
it was small.
And now seeing it, you got people's attention really quick. It's really a testament to your expertise and your commitment on this thing. It's just awesome.
No, I appreciate that, and I definitely appreciate the community support. I mean, everybody here has been such a big help in making it successful. And again, virtual this year just made sense from a perspective of travel, of health and safety and all that stuff. Plus I think it's a cool thing to try, and it like an experiment. But I do hope we get back to the point in the future where it's more of a live thing like we've done in the past. But I'm always up for trying new stuff, so that's why I'm excited.
Well, I would, if I can get down to Austin, I will definitely try. It would be a lot of fun. Hang out with you guys again.
We'll talk. We'll kind of. I mean, the good news is it's a ways off, right? So as far as planning goes, it might be something that could be planned. But well, dude, again, I really appreciate you jumping on. I told you we'd keep it to an hour, and we're closing in on that hour. I really appreciate the audience jumping in. I've seen so many familiar faces out there: Agent K, Steve Carpenter, Rick Halber. Bob Casey was in there. Mel was in there earlier from 400 AGL. Gosh, I'm feeling like I'm going to miss people now, but so much appreciate even a small audience like this. It's BMAX aerial visuals. I mean, it just makes me feel so Geeksvana, Sean from Geeksvana. It just makes me feel so good to have the support of all these folks.
Well, man, I appreciate you having me on. It was when you had asked me, was it last 2 weeks ago? And I can't remember what it was. And I was so sad I wasn't able to hop on.
No
and
worries.
Then when you hit me up a week later, I was like, excellent.
Yeah. No, this is it's an interesting format, and it's something that we're trying with. It's a beta software that they're trying out, and it's kind of a cross between a podcast and a live stream, but. Again, really appreciate everybody jumping on today. Whoa, and I just got a super chat. Who was that super chat from? 400 AGL. Thank you, Mel. You're a man. Very, very much appreciated. By the way, Mel has a. If you haven't seen it, Chris, I put a Phantom Pro Platinum in the water.
What? Why would you do that?
Well, because a viewer sent me landing skids, like water pontoons that were supposed to hold it up out of the water, and they did until they didn't, and then it ended up it floated, but it floated upside down. The pontoons held it. So I sent it off to Mel, and he's in the process of trying to fix it for me. So we'll see. But and he's giving me a $20 super chat too. That's the kind of guy Mel is. He's a giver, and I appreciate that. All right, man. Well, any final words? Hey, listen, if you're watching this right now and you haven't subscribed to Chris Rollins, seriously, go over there and do it. He's way more entertaining than me. He's way better looking than me. He's got a lot going on. I'd say, I'd say someday he's going to be the Kelly Shores 2.0 that I always hope to be.
I like that a lot.
I guess. All right, man. Well, thanks again for joining. Go check out Chris's channel, and I will check all of you guys later. I really appreciate everybody tuning in for this thing we call Speed Dial on Saturdays.
All right, man. Thanks for having me, and check out my channel, and let's talk soon.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon, Chris. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, thank you for joining today. Mel, thanks for the super chat. Sean, thanks for joining the flight crew. Very much appreciated. Seriously, the reason I do this is because this is such a great community. So many awesome people out there. Kai, thanks for joining the flight crew. Mappers 2. Hey, good to see you, John. Rick Halber, all you guys. Really, thank you guys for joining. So I will see you next Saturday. Also, don't forget, First Friday will be on Friday, June 5th. Lots going on that show. Lots of giveaways, and also big announcements on Spin Up. I'm finally going to have the reg site up and all that stuff. So looking forward to seeing all you guys there. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.